Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the appropriate greeting of the day is for you, wherever you're at. Um, just hope that it's good. Today we're going to be doing another top 10 kind of countdown, just of some of my personal favorite cards that I own. I know we already did one episode of this where we just kind of focused on Charizard, but I thought I would expand out a little bit more and show you guys some more of the cards that I personally really love that I own. Again, I really didn't place a whole lot of rules on myself for this. And believe it or not, even though I'm calling this a top 10, when I was going through my collection, it was really hard to narrow it down to 10. And these are by no means the top 10, but these are 10 that I just really love. The only rules that I really did put on myself was I wanted to keep it to kind of some of the more modern stuff just because I do prefer those artworks more. Not saying that we can't do a video at some other point in the future about, maybe some of the Wizards of the Coast or some of the earlier stuff before we got some of this high quality artwork that we're graced with now. But other than that, the only other two things were no Charizard, since we already did an entire video just on Charizards. I didn't think it would be fair to throw some more of them in here and maybe give this or use this as an opportunity to highlight some other Pokemon that I like. And also, I wanted to hold off on some of the Scarlet and Violet stuff just because I think that would be something fun for. Granted, I know this will be a long time from now, but whenever that series starts to come to a close, maybe kind of going through and then doing like a proper top 10 of, the entire Scarlet and Violet set. But we'll go ahead and get started. I did just kind of throw these, I guess, in a general list. So as it does, or as we go further along, the cards that I'm going to be showing are ones that I'll like more. But we'll go ahead and we'll get started here with our first one being Mimikyu V. This was introduced, I can't remember what set, but I do know it is a Trainer's Gallery card. I just really kind of like Mimikyu. I like the whole idea that it's something that's supposedly so scary that it throws a kind of makeshift Pikachu costume over itself in hopes that, it'll be loved by everyone. However, as people get more friendly with it and it tries to reveal itself, they all run away in fear. And I just really kind of dig the artwork in this. So my wife and I, we both really love horror movies. And I love that they took a Pokemon like Mimikyu and kind of gave it a horror themed setting, especially with it just sitting in a chair. You can see its shadows broadcasted in the background and there's somebody opening the door. Just really think that it fits for the whole theme of this Pokemon. And our next one here. So this will actually be a Gigantamax Pikachu, or since it's the trading card game, Pikachu V Max with red in the front. So red is probably one of my personal favorite characters in the series. So for those of you that don't know, his trainer model was actually based off of the original trainer model in red, blue, and yellow. However, in gold, silver, and crystal, he was kind of added in as a post-game boss. And what was really cool about him was he used a lot of Pokemon that it felt like we probably all used as kids when playing through the original red, blue, and yellow. So he did lead off with, a level 81 Pikachu, which at the time, and I think for a while, was probably the highest level Pokemon that was ever used by a trainer. Also to make Pikachu better, because speaking of stats, Pikachu's not really one of the best. However, they did introduce in Gold and Silver and even Crystal an absolutely broken item specifically just for Pikachu to make it viable, known as the Light Ball. If I recall correctly, the Light Ball was actually unobtainable for anyone just doing a playthrough unless you stole it specifically from Red's Pikachu. But if I remember correctly, what it did was it doubled both the attack and special attack of Pikachu as long as it was holding that item. And it actually made Pikachu capable of dealing some pretty insane damage. But overall, I just really love this card because I think it's a nice throwback to some of the earlier stuff. Of course, Red's still a very popular trainer, and it was a nice way to bring it into some of the more modern stuff by having Red's Pikachu be Gigantamax. Also, this is a Japanese card, and I know For our last video, I had mentioned that Japanese cards, the back of the cards have actually changed, but I never showed that, even though I did have a couple examples in that last list. So this is the newer background that you see on most Japanese trading cards, at least in the Pokemon series. And coming up next, we have Arceus V, released in the Brilliant Stars. This is the super rare version of it from the Japanese set. Overall, I just really love this. I feel like this card came out at such a perfect opportunity with Legends Arceus coming out. So I will be honest, initially I got out of Pokemon around the Diamond and Pearl series. I was a huge fan of it from ever since I got Red and I think Silver and Gold were technically the first 3 games I got just because I got them all on Christmas Day. But I did get to start off playing Pokemon with my cousins who had Blue and Yellow version. However, by the time Diamond and Pearl came out, I kind of moved on to other things like Halo mostly and was more of an Xbox fan. And a lot of the Pokemon at the time that were introduced just did not really do enough for me to keep me interested. That being said, when I did come back to the series with Sword and Shield and that, and got to go back through and play essentially a Sinnoh-based game through Legends Arceus, I really fell in love with a lot of the lore and the designs of it. And I just think that this whole idea of, showing Arceus, I'm guessing that would be on top of Mount Sinnoh there in the background. Just thought that was really cool. And for this to be essentially the Pokemon God, I think it's a really nice artwork to demonstrate that. Coming up next then, we have Piers and his Obstagoon. So Piers was actually, he's at least in my top 3 for characters in Sword and Shield. So he was, and I might be correct on this, I might be wrong on it, so take it with a grain of salt, but I believe he was our first Dark type gym leader, which Dark is my second favorite typing, just behind Fire, and I was also kind of blown away that it took them that long to give us a Dark type gym leader. But the other thing that I liked about him is he kind of broke a lot of the traditions in Sword and Shield, so he did not do any sort of Dynamaxing or Gigantamaxing and just kept it to a regular Pokemon battle. The other thing that I liked about him was it really just seemed he was at the point where he was ready to pass the torch to his sister Marnie and was more interested in making music. And I like the whole idea of having Obstagoon kind of being this rock star, Piers, of course, being a rock star as well. I think it's just a very well done picture. And moving on to our next one here, we have Cynthia and Garchomp. So, like I said, I never played through Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum whenever they first came out. Technically the first Sinnoh games I played were Legends Arceus, and then of course the remakes, which I didn't mind the remakes. Then again, that's because I didn't play the original, so I didn't have anything to compare them to. But that was also right around the time where I really got into learning how to, I guess, build Pokemon out in a more competitive stance. And Cynthia was a very good example of just how freaking powerful some of them can be when you train them correctly. Like, you're spending a lot of that time, working with EVs, IVs, natures, all that other fun stuff. And she is by far probably in my top 3 favorite battles within the series. And I just kind of like this artwork just because it's her and her ace Garchomp just kind of chilling out. Like, she knows she's probably going to smoke you. And I just think that's absolutely amazing. But she was also a pretty nice character in the games. It was kind of funny that she would just kind of randomly appear and be like, hey, here's this, thing for problem X, Y, or Z over here. Just go do that. And then, would just magically disappear, only to find out that she's the champion of the entire region. And like I said, she's going to give your team a dirt nap, probably several times over before you finally just get through from spamming revives and full restore. So it was really nice to see them have a champion that really truly deserved that title. Moving right along, next we have who would be my favorite character in the Sword and Shield franchise, and that's Master Mustard with Urshifu. This is the Rapid Strike form. So Urshifu, I'll be honest with you, at first I didn't really I wasn't super excited about it. I had seen a lot of the cards from the battle style set when it came out, and Urshifu just didn't really blow me away. And then when I played through the Isle of Armor DLC, of course, there was a big thing of, having to form a relationship with Kubfu and then getting to choose your Urshifu, which the Rapid Strike was technically the first one that I got. I did go back and do another playthrough, so I had both of them. But that being said, Mustard I thought was just a brilliant character. The fact that he just seems so relaxed and carefree, but then at the same time, just like Cynthia, he's going to put your team in that forever box if you start messing around with him and think that he's just going to be some chump. But he was also one where he's a retired champion, even though he just, makes jokes most of the time. But then as soon as he gets serious, he had a pretty formidable team. And I actually really like the fact that, even though he was a retired champion, he was still really happy to kind of see just the other characters' growth. And again, Urshifu, after playing through that, it really did grow on me. I definitely say he's one of my more favorite legendaries. Of course, he's also absolutely broken, but just a really cool card artwork. And I think it shows that, Mustard, while he might be an old guy, he's still very formidable as well. Moving along then to our next card, we have the Gutina V alt art. I believe this was Brilliant Star, or I'm sorry, not Brilliant Stars as well, but it was the one where they introduced a lot of the Hisuian Pokemon. Could be wrong on that, so don't be afraid to fact check me and throw it down in the comments if I was wrong. I believe that set though was Astral Radiance. Again, I could be wrong. However, I do just love this card. So Giratina, if I recall correctly, was banished to the Distortion world from Arceus, basically because Giratina, it's kind of like the Joker from Batman. He's just chasing after a dog, but he doesn't know what he would do if he ever caught up to it. I know I messed that saying up pretty bad, but it's kind of the same thing. He's just here to watch the world burn and just thrives in chaos, and eventually was sent over to the Distortion world. And I think this card just kind of does a really good job of showing a lot of chaos going on to it. Plus, this is the Giratina origin form, which I think is so much better than his original. But yeah, just a really, really cool card. And our next one then is the Mewtwo and Mew tag team. This was actually a promo, as indicated down here by the Black Star. I actually got this one in a tin that I randomly found in Walmart. And I love the artwork to it, having both Mew and Mewtwo there. So for those of you that watch my one Pokemon fact, I think one of the interesting things about it is, in the original movies, Mew was supposed to be kind of a bit of a jackwagon. He was really only fighting with Mewtwo to prove that he was superior to all the clones and that clones basically weren't worth anything. However, that never made it over into the English translation of the movie, and Mew just, to us, came off as a very kind of carefree, sweet and lovable Pokemon. And Mewtwo was actually the one that kind of seemed like a bit of a butthead in it because he was always, just such a Debbie Downer every time he talked. But that being said, I do kind of like that their attitudes mirror each other, especially in the English version. And I think this card does a really good job of capturing that. You have Mewtwo, who's a lot more serious, and Mew that's carefree. And you can just see Mewtwo kind of being upset by the fact that Mew's up there just doing something. He's living his best life. What he's doing, we don't know, but he's having a blast. And this card just captures that perfectly. Moving on to our second to last, we have the Espeon and Deoxys Tag Team GX. Again, this was a promo that was released in a bigger box set. And I'll be honest, for a promo, they did not have to go this hard, but they absolutely did. So this was also introduced with a Darkrai and Umbreon GX tag team card as well, which I also wanted to throw in, but this was my personal favorite of the two. I love both of them almost equally. This one just slightly edges it out. That being said, though, I love the whole fact. So it looks like Deoxys has almost crash landed on Earth or wherever the Pokemon world is set. And just kind of coming out of the ground, getting ready to do battle with the first thing that he sees, which just so happens to be this Espeon. And like I said, for this being a promo, I thought it was absolutely cool, especially for the fact that you're guaranteed it. I mean, all you had to do was buy the box and you were guaranteed to get this card. I think that was so cool. I love it when a lot of companies do that, is they make some of these really sick artworks for, something that's affordable for the average person. I do know that this was, I think it was around $50, at least whenever I picked up the box set. But that being said, $50 to get, a card art as beautiful as this, I think is so worth it. And I love it when companies do that. Just because I do know that, Pokemon, it is enjoyed by kids as well. It's nice that I have the expendable income that I can go out and kind of buy stuff, whenever I feel like it. Of course, got to be responsible. That's your dad advice for the weekend. Be responsible with your finances. Don't overdo it. Cardboard's nice, but also make sure you have a roof over your head. But for kids, they don't have that same option. And I think, as someone who can put myself in a parent's shoes, I think it's really cool that, for just $50, you can buy your kids something that has such a really cool card with it that they're going to love and really appreciate. And lastly, we have the Lugia V full art from Silver Tempest. So Lugia, in all honesty, up until Sword and Shield, this was my favorite legendary. He's still at number 2. He did get dethroned by Zacian, however. But this card art, I think, is just phenomenal. So Lugia is supposed to be the guardian of the seas. So as you can see down at the bottom here, we've got somebody who it looks like is on a ship. Lugia has emerged from the water. And I believe part of the lore behind Lugia is that, it does stay underwater because it's just so powerful that anytime it rises above the water, it would actually cause like hurricanes and storms. And I just think it's a really cool representation of just how powerful some of the lore behind these creatures are, and that, with Lugia literally having to keep itself underwater just for kind of the safety of those around it. The other reason I really like this card is it's a bit of a funny story. It may only be funny to me and my friends, but just humor me with allowing me to say it here. So my one cousin, for his 30th birthday, we had a little bit of a birthday party to him, and as gifts, a lot of us had got him various different things related to Pokemon. And somebody had got him, I forget exactly what it was, but it came with a couple packs from the Silver Tempest. And I just remember he was sitting it there with one of our other buddies who was just hyping him up for every single pack. And it finally got to that pack where he opened it up. He got a Lugia, and he was just so psyched because this is the one that he thought he had hit. And for whatever reason, in my mind, I just decided it was better to let him down early rather than have him be all hyped up in that, only to find out later that this was actually not the card that he had got, and he had just gotten the base form of it. And I just kind of remember telling him, it's like, I don't think you have what you think you have. Didn't mean it to come across mean. I don't think anybody kind of took it as mean, but you could just instantly see like that man's soul leave his body there for just like a few moments, like just that happiness he had had. And then me just trying to throw out like, hey man, it's still a good card, but I don't think it's what you think it is. And then just that pure look of like, oh God, his whole world had come down. It was just kind of a funny story. And because of that, I associate like a lot of really good memories to this card. I don't know if he's actually gotten it since then, but every time I kind of see it, it just reminds me like, oh yeah, I shot somebody down thinking I got this. But again, like I said, Lugia, he was also probably my favorite legendary up until I really got to play with Zacian from Sword and Shield. So those are just 10 of them. Like I said, this will probably be more of an ongoing thing, just because these videos, they are pretty simple to make. Then again, all of our videos are, because we keep it on a budget over here. But As always, if you could make that sacrifice to those algorithm overlords over here at YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you like the video and you want to share it to your friends, hit that share button. I appreciate all the support that everyone has given me so far in that. And, I hope I can continue to make videos that you guys will continue to enjoy. And as always, if you didn't like the video, but you're still around, to hear me say this part and that, I still appreciate you watching the video. Don't hesitate to leave a comment saying something that you'd like to see change maybe later down the road. But as always, thank you guys, and I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving, since I know that's coming up here next week. I do know with Black Friday, one of the things I'm hoping is to maybe get some new seal products, some stuff from the Scarlet and Violet era here, and maybe do some openings with that. But as always, like I said, can't thank you guys enough, and hope everyone has a good week.